In this video, I'll show you how to make this strawberry suncatcher. Here it is, twirling in the sun. It's my most favorite thing so far that I've ever made. I saw this really cute strawberry mold on Amazon and tried it and then felt like, hey, what if I turn this into a suncatcher? So let me show you how I did that. First, I'm going to mix my casting resin. I have KS Resin Liquid Cast, and I'm pouring in my hardener. This is an 8-ounce measuring cup. So that's 4 ounces of hardener and then 4 ounces of resin. And I'm gonna mix it for about 2 to 3 minutes until everything is fully mixed together. I've mixed up my resin and now I'm gonna add coloring to it. This is Let's Resin resin pigment in purplish red, and I'm just gonna add a few drops. A little bit goes a long way for these resin pigments. And I'm gonna need about a whole 8 ounce to fill the strawberry part of the mold. And I'm gonna stir this for about a minute or so until everything is fully mixed together and the cup looks like it's one color. Now here's a trick to get rid of bubbles pretty easily. I have an old mold here and it's a flat 6x6 block mold. I'm gonna pour this entire cup of resin in there. And if you don't have an old mold like this, you can use a sandwich Tupperware, anything that's kind of like wide and flat so that the resin can even out in a thin layer. And this will allow the bubbles to rise up pretty quickly. So I'm gonna wait about 15 minutes and come back to this, and then I'll pop all the bubbles with my heat gun. So it's been about 15 minutes and you can see all the bubbles have risen to the top and to the center. I'm using my heat gun to go over the bubbles and you'll see them all disappear. Now that the bubbles are gone, I'm pouring my resin into the mold. I'm pouring really slowly because I don't want any new bubbles to form. I'm filling it all the way to the top, and then I'll let it sit for a few minutes to see if any new bubbles rise to the surface. In the meantime, I'm gonna start on my strawberry top. I've mixed about 3 ounces of resin and I'm putting in a few drops of green alcohol ink. This is Brea Reese alcohol ink. And I'll mix this together for about a minute, just like I did with the red cup of resin. Now that my resin is ready, I have an old mold. This is a 4 by 3.5 inch mold. And I'm gonna pour all my resin into the mold and let the bubbles rise up like I did the first time. Because I have less resin this time around, this smaller mold is perfect. And I'll let this sit for about 15 minutes. It's been 15 minutes and you can see all the bubbles have risen to the top. I'm getting my heat gun and just popping all the bubbles. Now I'm gonna pour my resin into the mold. This top half of the mold is a little tricky because of the edges that are really thin. So I'm gonna grab my popsicle stick and try to wedge the air out. And you can see that I'm using my fingers to push the air out and then using the popsicle stick to put the resin inside of those gaps. You can see that there's bubbles coming out. That's a good sign to show you that the air is releasing. And as the resin fills those gaps, you'll know that it's filling it well when it's green. And then any areas that are white, those are areas where it's just filled with air. And if you see little white circles, those are bubbles. So you just want to keep pressing the air out until you see that it's fully green. I went around the mold and got all the bubbles out, and now I'm just gonna top it off with a little bit more resin and let it sit for about 10 minutes and see if any bubbles rise. I'm taking my heat gun and just popping any remaining bubbles, and then I'm gonna let the resin sit and cure overnight and come back to it tomorrow. I'm here the next day and I'm gonna demold my strawberry and see what it looks like. I think it looks so cool. I'm really impressed with this mold because it's a very cheap mold, but it's got a lot of cool details. Now I'm demolding the top of the strawberry, and let's see how that came out. Whoa. I really like the details. It's really cool. The edges are a little soft, so I probably should have waited another day or two to demold. But here's what it looks like. It's actually supposed to be a jar. It's a very small jar, but at this point, if you want to use it as a jar, you totally can. But I can't stop here, so I'm gonna add some crystals to it. I'm gonna be using UV resin as glue throughout the rest of this project. This is Counterculture DIY UV resin. I'm putting it all over the rim of the strawberry to adhere the top to it. And then I'm grabbing my UV lamp and placing it over for about a minute or two until it's stuck on there. I have a chain of small crystals and I'm gonna use that to hang the strawberry from, and also to hang the larger crystals on. First, I'm cutting about 5 to 6 inches off the chain to go on the top of my strawberry. I'm taking my crystal chain and making sure it's the length that I want. And then I'm gonna put a drop of UV resin at the very top of the strawberry and put the chain on it. I wanna make sure the crystal is on the UV resin, and then place my UV lamp over it for about a minute or two until it's fully on there. And I'm gonna test how strong this UV resin is right now. And there it is, it works. So if your chain falls off, you might need a little bit more resin. Now I'm gonna start adding crystals to the bottom of my strawberry. And I'm cutting about 1 to 2 inches off the chain. Then I'm adding a drop of UV resin to the bottom center of the strawberry, and then placing the crystal chain in that UV resin and putting my UV lamp over it for about a minute or two until it fully cures and the chain is attached to the strawberry. The chain is attached pretty nicely, so I'm gonna add my big crystal prism at the bottom of the chain. First, I'm grabbing a jump ring and I'm gonna open it up and slide in my big crystal prism. This is an iridescent crystal that I got off Amazon, and I'm gonna attach it to one of the gold chain links at the bottom of the crystal chain. I'm using my pliers to close the jump ring and make sure that large crystal is secure. I'm gonna dangle my crystal just to make sure it looks right, and it looks so cool. Now I'm gonna hang 2 more crystals on each side of that middle crystal. I put a drop of UV resin on the right hand side of the strawberry, really close to the edge, and I'm attaching the crystal chain to it like I did before. Because I only have 2 hands, I had to maneuver it in the weird way that I did, where I held the UV lamp and the strawberry in one hand, and then the chain in the other. It's a bit awkward, but it did work for me in this situation. Now that the resin is cured and the chain is attached, I'm gonna trim off the chain, and I'm first gonna take a look at how long I want it to be. And I want it to be a lot shorter than the middle crystal, so I'm cutting it down to about 1 inch. And I'll repeat this on the other side of the strawberry. I'm placing a drop of UV resin and adhering the crystal to it. Now I have all my crystal chains attached to the back of the strawberry. I'm pouring a layer of UV resin at the back of the strawberry to give the chains an extra layer of adhesion. I just want to make sure that the crystals don't fall off and they're on there really well. So I'm holding that middle chain just so it won't get stuck to the UV resin, and holding my UV lamp over it to give it an initial cure. Because this is a thicker layer, it's gonna need at least 5 to 10 minutes for a full cure. So I'm gonna just move the strawberry around and move the lamp over it so that it cures to the point where it won't drip. And then I'll put it on its side and let the lamp sit there for about 5 to 10 minutes until it's no longer sticky. Now I'm gonna start adding the final crystals. I have a jump ring and I've placed my crystal in the ring, and I'm attaching it to the last link on the chain. These crystals are also iridescent, but they're a different shape and they're a smaller size, and I think that gives it a nice contrast to the big center crystal, and I wanted that to be the focal point. Now I'm closing my jump ring and making sure that the crystal is securely attached. And then I'll grab another crystal and I'll repeat it on the last crystal chain. I'm adding one final jump ring to the top crystal chain that's holding the Suncatcher, just so it can be hung pretty easily from this loop. Now my Suncatcher is all finished, and let's take it into the sunlight and see what it looks like. So here it is in the sunlight, and you can see all the crystals catching that sunlight and creating little rainbows on the walls. Thank you for watching, and I hope you make a beautiful Suncatcher. If you want to buy one from me, the link is in the description box, and all the material links are down there too. Thank you, and I will see you again soon. Bye!